Welcome back, everybody, to the Who Do You Like Here podcast. Joey C-Note, and as always, the kid. Breeders' Cup weekend. Finally here, the Super Bowl horse racing. You ready for this, kid?
I'm ready. I am ready. We've been waiting a long time. There's been a little bit of a lull in handicapping.
Yeah.
Now we get to either show out or lose all of our money.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to covering these 2 days of horse racing at Del Mar, right? So third time at Del Mar.
Third time.
First time was back in 2017, most recently in 2021. And the races are all different, obviously. And I like to look at some of the historical stuff. But first time I was at Del Mar, it was all off pace back in 2017. The only front runner was Gun Runner in the Classic. And then in 2021, kind of changed up. All of a sudden, we had 3 out of 6 races in the Juvenile were front runners wire to wire, and 3 out of the 9 on the Saturday card were all wire to wire. The Juvenile races, Turf Sprint, Juvenile Fillies, Dirt Route, and the Juvenile Dirt Route. So 2 dirt routes were wire to wire, and then a Turf Sprint. And then in the Saturday card, again, the Turf Sprint for the 3-year-olds and older, and the Dirt Mile, so another dirt route, and then the Classic, which was a dirt that was Nick's Go that year, wire to wire. So hard to really gauge. I haven't seen anything from a track bias. I don't watch enough Del Mar, to be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of the West Coast action. I know you do. What's the strategy, track bias for Del Mar?
Obviously, I mean, it's a little bit different, I think, when you talk about Breeders' Cup, because there's so much talent in the pool that, track bias definitely plays a factor. But I mean, sometimes you're just going to go against a beast and it doesn't really matter what the track bias is. They're going to run the race, whatever it is anyway. But for me, I think on dirt, I handicapped it in a way where I want to see speed or close to the speed stalkers. I don't want anybody too far back. That doesn't mean I didn't take anybody that wasn't going to be too far back, but
right.
Preferably, if I had the perfect trip, stalking or setting the fractions on the dirt. And then when it comes to turf, I think we're going to see a lot more of a closing perspective. I think we're going to see a lot more horses that are coming off maybe mid-pack closers rather than, on the lead all the time. So that's the way I handicapped it. That's the way I've always seen kind of Del Mar. It reminds me in a way of like Saratoga when I watch it, because sometimes it's like I said, you get the best horses, the best jockeys, and it almost seems almost unhandicappable. It's almost because they're just such good horses in these races where, that doesn't play as strong of a factor than it would if you were like watching, Keeneland last week. So,
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it reminds me of Saratoga. I feel like the track, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like to me it's maybe a deeper track. Harder to make up that ground on the dirt unless you've got just an absolute monster with, some great kick and strong kick at the end. But that's how I've always seen Del Mar. That's always how I try to handicap it, and I think that's what I'm going to try to do here. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. On Saturday too. Obviously we handicapped early. Post positions came out on Monday. We handicapped on Tuesday. We're recording on Wednesday. Doesn't mean that these are going to be our, in solidified, in cement picks for Saturday. Might vary depending on what that track looks like and how things are playing out, so, or if there's any more crazy scratches that, we don't know about, or that if Swift wants to break another, insane, late scratch, maybe we'll have
amazing late scratch you won't believe. Yeah. All good stuff. Like I said, I think you nailed it, though. I think forward on the dirt and maybe a little bit off. And then on turf, I think you do want some kind of late moving action. I think does benefit. But when it comes to these races and these top horses, like anything can happen. We see it every time. So track bias not as powerful when you've got the best horses around the world actually coming here for a 2-day meet. Lots to cover. Let's hope it's not like Saratoga. Let's hope we don't get the same results we did from Saratoga this year, because that track was very very hard to handicap, at least for you and I this year.
Ideally.
So I think we just jump right in.
Yeah, I was gonna say last year we did really well at the Breeders' Cup. I mean, typically, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, but when you're betting with your friends and you feel really strong about a pick and you give it to somebody else, usually it doesn't pan out. Usually you're like, oh god damn it, I just lost everybody money. or if you give out your picks, they
The
typically
worst.
don't win. But then when you hold them to yourself, it's like, oh, did anybody hit that race? I didn't hit it. It's like, yeah, I hit it, and you didn't tell anybody. But
Yeah.
last year, you and I watched the Breeders' Cup, and I think it was on Friday. We caught the last couple of races, and we hit that one big one on the turf. It was like, I forget what it paid. It was like
Yeah.
a couple $100 for the try. I think the exacta was pretty juicy, and it was like a last minute, switch of the pick, and then
Yeah.
had a okay, I think Saturday, probably not as profitable on Saturday. Actually, I think we might have lost on Saturday, but
If my memory serves well, the chalky ones, we try to go outside, get some prices where chalks were probably definitely favored to win, and they did. If we did hit, we really didn't cash enough. If we went against it, we lost money.
Yeah.
And just missed on some of those bombs last year. What I'm not hoping for is, I believe it was Del Mar in 2021 when we got together, and the best pick of the day got purse money only for breaking through the gate. That ruined everything for us. Our tries. That was a debacle. Let's hope for just safe trips for jockeys and horses, and no issues for the bettors.
That issue actually worked out well.
I'm ready to go whenever.
It didn't work out well for you guys. It worked out well for me because I didn't have that horse.
No,
trying to go against the grain, so it really didn't burn me.
It was a great call
guys,
too.
But, yeah.
That's when it sticks in your car when you win, you don't get paid.
Yeah,
and you had the bet in. It's not like I got shut out. We had the bet.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm ready to jump in.
Let's jump in.
We're gonna cover all. We're going to cover all Friday's races, and then we're going to follow it right up with the Saturday races and cover both days on one podcast today. So going to be a little more windier. We'll try to make it brief. I'll try to stick to what we know and try to give out just some short quips on why we like what we like. So we're going to go ahead and just, I guess, start it off here with the juvenile turf sprint. And the thing about this race, like, right, there's always a lot of speed in this first race, right? I mean, it's typically every time we talk about sprints, we're always looking for speed, but there are some horses that can be kind of tactical in this race, which I think kind of made it a little difficult to try to handicap. Again, this is the Breeders' Cup. This isn't just some claimer or allowance race, but I'm going to go with the speed that actually shows to be probably going to be fourthly placed and hopefully to wire it. So I'm hoping to wire here for Governor Sam and Paco Lopez, George Weaver. Just like the way this horse has been running in the workouts coming in, really getting strong into condition. It's not the classiest horse out there, but I'm looking just at times and the fractions that this horse can put up. And I'm hoping that it basically just continues and gets a good break from the outside, like a little more inside post. But I'm not really mad at the 10 post to be able to get out there and wing. I think Paco's done this a bunch of times and the horse breaks very well. So I don't see that really being a major issue. I do like the 2 Asterius too. This one's got a nice opportunity really on just an impeccable kind of run here. A couple wins in a second. Makes a lot of big moves. Has ran against some of these horses in this race before. Big Mojo and Magnum Force and Arizona Blaze, Shareholder. So familiar foes for this one. Shipping in here for Archie Watson. Of course, you got the Doiler here. I like that underneath. I think the 8's going to be interesting as well. Hopefully that one's going to get a piece. This is a lot of people are talking about a Koro Sieg. One of these horses shipping in from Japan that I actually like. I like the workouts. I like everything I've seen when it's been over the track here. I almost wanted to put it on top. I just don't have the guts to put it on top, but we'll kind of see how the track plays out and where that lies. And then my last horse here, Pally Kitten, the 13, as long as this one gets in, has a great opportunity. It's got quite a bit of off-pace ability and just in a stalking sense. A tough post position to overcome, but he has really stretched such strong late foot that I don't want to leave it off. As long as it's running and it gets it on the also eligible, which it should do the scratches, Pally Kitten will be underneath. I got a slew of them here you see on the screen that I like for the 3rd position. I think the 3, 7, 9, 11, and 12 all have good possibilities of hitting the board. Don't know if I'll bump any of those up in the exotics, but 10 on top at the 2, 8, 13 seems to be my exactas and the 10 to win.
Yeah, I kept mine pretty simple, and I like your picks. I think I like that we're kind of different. So like it typically is,
I like
they
that
kind
too.
of figure out. Yeah, you get a little bit of a good mix, and they can figure out who's hot and who's where. I really I was leaning on the 7 with Whistle Jacket, so Aiden O'Brien, Ryan Moore. This race actually in particular made me feel super un-American because I took all shippers in my top 3 picks here. The 7.
Side note on that, the last 2 years, it's all been shippers for the try. So you may be on something.
I didn't even know that. Already on a good spot. Starting off
Yeah.
strong. So Whistle Jacket, I think, is a very interesting horse here in the last 4 starts, right? 50% win percentage, and then second place if this horse doesn't finish up and win it. The thing I did is I watched a lot of replays yesterday and tried to understand kind of how these horses run, especially the shippers, because obviously there's not a lot on the form that you can kind of tell. But Whistle Jacket was an interesting one to me because it's always really close to the lead. And the one thing I saw in the race that I really kind of pinpointed was the pre Maroni, if that's how you say it. If I butchered that, I'm sorry. But I thought it was like the best showing I
Pre-morning?
saw. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-morning.
Um,
Yep.
it, it was the best showing I've seen for the 7, and for a couple different reasons. Number one, the 7, if you watch that horse, maybe it wasn't good for that race, but they still ended up winning. The horse was never straight, right? So if you watch that race, this horse is running on an angle, right? It's at the rail and it's kind of running at an angle. And this is a straight race, right? There's no turn in that race, right?
Yeah. Flat.
So I think, obviously you've got Ryan Moore fighting against the horse, right? And trying to keep him straight and trying to keep him from getting closer to that rail. So I think in this case, right, they got the 7 posts, they're in the middle. If they get to the rail, you're getting a turn here, right? So you're not going to be fighting the horse the entire way. So you're going to save some of that energy. And I think it's going to bode well for them. They're going to fight. They're going to go on. I think they're going to be there down the stretch. I think they're going to be very tough to beat, especially if Ryan Moore puts his horse where I think they're going to. But yeah, I like the trip. I especially like if they break well and get there. Obviously, this is a sprint horse. Always the distance is not a problem. But yeah, just go back and watch the race if you have time. You'll see, like I said, that horse is sideways the whole time. If you got the turn, you can go with the horse now, save some of that energy, not fight the horse, straighten them out down the stretch, and hopefully pull away. So I landed on the 7. Underneath, I didn't get fancy like I normally do. Like I said, Saturday I'll probably have a lot more combinations or a couple more maybe. I like the 2, like you said, Asterius. I think there's a lot of buzz around that horse. 3 for the last 4 races. Obviously, this is a little bit of a step up for the horse. That's why I didn't have it as my top pick overall, just because, it's not running in grade 1s. It's running in grade 2s and 3s and getting the job done. But this is a grade 1 and it's a whole different ball game. So again, I think the horse is going to be right there. I think it's very strong. James Doyle has ridden very well overseas. He's been having a great year, and obviously coming over here for one of the biggest races of the year. And then the other one I looked at was Big Mojo, and this is Michael Appleby and Tom Marquand. And again, it's very similar aspects, right? I think a little bit off the pace. They're going to be sitting a little bit stalking. Didn't get the nod for me just for the simple fact that they're just not winning the grade 2s and grade 3s like you think they should be. But I think it's got a good shot. I think if they sit a little bit of a stalking trip off the pace and just kind of pull the trigger late, they'll be right there down the stretch as well. But again, like I said, I'm really solid on the 7 here. And I like the 2 and the 3 underneath to clean up the place money.
Yeah, it's funny with Big Mojo. I put it in the 3rd position, but the cutback here going are the 5 furlongs versus from 6 furlongs 2 back. Yep. It seems the distance seems to be well suited here. Just don't know. Listen, it's a tough race. Yep. They're always tough. The juvenile races are always tougher because you never really know how these horses are really going to act on the track when they get out there, right? You go by paper and think they're going to be a certain way, but you really just never know. So
yep, 100%.
Fantastic. I like that you got the shippers though. I do like that because I wasn't heavy on it. I just really went with the speed, and we'll see which way it plays out come Friday. And I do like that workout.
The one thing with these shippers too in the sprints, obviously, right? They're just a lot of straights, right? They're not turning with them, so it does get me nervous in certain aspects, because obviously it's a little bit different when you hit that turn, right? You got to keep position, and sometimes they just don't react well. But again, obviously they know what they're doing here. They're putting them in a spot where they think they can win. So.
But they don't really need to really change leads because they're not turning. So it's really lead changes and how they act and when they come into the stretch. And, that's where I think workouts also help when you see them on the track. I think that could be a benefit if you're looking at any shippers coming in. Let's go ahead and move on into the juvenile fillies, which is the 2nd race on the card for Friday. This one I'm going to go with Immersive. Sounds really boring, I know. I'm just going to take the chalk here at 3-1 for a Godolphin. Brad Cox and Julio Franco. I don't know what else to say, but this should be a nice stalking trip here on a horse that can be forwardly placed. It's never really more than 2 lengths off of it the entire way. Really like the spin away was good. That was an off track, but I really like the Alcibiades. I thought that was a great race and comes back to that form. It was an 80 speed figure. It wasn't the best speed figure, but coming out of the spin away with an 83 and then going for an 80, both grade 1 races. It's hard to go against it. I know it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. It's not very sexy at all, but it just seems to be the one that's going to make sense as far as when I handicap. I like vodka with a twist underneath. This is one that's just been right there, kind of battling. It's getting a little second-itis lately in the graded stakes races, but I think it's got some trips over Del Mar, second and 2 trips both times. So I want to make sure I have that one on there. Snow White, the 2, I don't know why I really like this horse. Didn't break its maiden, and then second in the Frizette. So technically still a maiden coming into this race, but the workout coming in 59 handling was really good, impressive, and I just like the way it handled against Scottish Lassie. It lost by 9 lengths, but I think the horse has a lot of guts, and that was going at a mile. I actually think the mile on the 16th might even be a benefit after they kind of blew her out in the Fizette. So we'll see how that goes. I'm probably going to get a price there. It looks like 15-1. Lacara is one I want to have in the second position as well. First time at a route, did fantastic in the Pocahontas, which was a grade 3. I hold a lot of stake in the Pocahontas, so I really love that race. Almost enough to put it on top. I just couldn't put it past the 3. And then I do like the 7, non-compliant. This is another one in the grade 2 Oak Leaf. First time at a route. Pretty much dominating. Odds-on favorite. Did beat Nooney in that race, who came in the game second. But those are my tops. I'm trying to stay forwardly placed. Little stalking trips. I could flip-flop the 3 with the 1, 2, 4, and 7 probably in any position here for the top 2. I'll probably make that decision on Friday. But to finish up your tries, I do like the 5, the 8, and the 10 at prices also that I think might be able to give you a little bit of a try if the chalk does hit. So 3 on top of the 1, 2, 4, 7, and a slew of others for third.
The 7 non-compliant, that's the one that was scratched, right? The Bob Baffert horse, right?
I didn't see if it was scratched. I know that there was issues. So
okay, I thought it was scratched, so I took it out. If it's not, I would definitely have it on my ticket.
But if it's out, then it's 3 with 1, 2, 4 for me.
Okay. So I like where you're at. I took a little bit of another swing here with Ryan Moore, so hopefully he can go back to back and we can go 2 for 2. But American Bikini out of American Pharaoh, this horse is very impressive to me. Again, I think, we'd probably like to see maybe some tougher races, but I really don't know how to judge Japan racing and what those stakes races and what those grades look like there. But something I saw this horse, again, watching the replays and just seeing this horse overall, obviously the breeding is fantastic. American Pharaoh has, goes without saying, great stats across the board, especially at Del Mar. But this horse, again, can be tactical, always breaks well. This horse can get out. I think they will hustle out a little bit, but if they need to sit off or they need to sit near the lead, I don't think that's an issue either. The horse is extremely tactical. There's a lot of hype going into this horse. Everything I'm seeing from just my own research and, like I said, the replays, it looks like a winner to me, and I'm a really big sucker for any American Pharaoh breeding, so especially over this track, again, the success that American Pharaoh and the bloodline has had over Del Mar is pretty impressive to me. So ran their best speed figures at Del Mar. So again, I think that's going to translate over. I really like the 9 a lot. So American Bikini is my top pick. The 4, I think, is another one that I think is a decent price here at 12-1. You're getting Ricardo Santana from Arcassi. Obviously, they have some really good stats together, do some really good business. This horse hasn't ridden in the greatest of classes of races, right? They just broke their maiden and then followed it up in the Pocahontas and came in first and really stepped up to the plate there. Not a great, obviously, like you said, not a great speed figure to see in a grade 3. But again, you're making the progressions. You're seeing the things that you want to see out of a horse coming into a race like this. So for everything I see there, I know Ricardo Santana is going to be riding hard, making it hard, making every opportunity his best one. And like I said, the team up and the success that they've had over the summer, gives them a little bit of a step up for me. And I think there's going to be a price underneath in second. I think you're going to get some money in this race. So I like the 4 underneath. The other one that I had is the 8. So that's Nooney. So that's, again, another horse that's had some really good success. It's a Bob Baffert horse. Obviously, he had the 7 non-compliant, which I think is scratch. I could be wrong. And I'm a sucker, and this is maybe my own preconceived notion, but anytime Bob Baffert has 2 horses in the race, I'm always looking at the one with the higher odds. And also it's Flavien Prat, and so Flavien Prat has never ridden this horse, but I know that Flavien's riding some horses for Bob Baffert, has been riding some horses for Bob Baffert, that their connection is obviously meaningful, right? So training going into this race is very strong. 5 furlongs at 59. Back that up even further. I mean, very consistent at 59 and 5, which is something you don't typically see. coming into the race. 3 straight bullet workouts, and the best horses that ridden, raced and worked out that day. Everything you want to see from a grade perspective. Yeah, you'd like to see them maybe win a couple more of those races, but you don't have Flavien Prat aboard. So you're getting a step up in jockey here, maybe not to Juan Hernandez, but you're getting a step up in jockey, a hot riding jockey with a connection. And Bob's going to come up swinging. This is his playground. So I think any horse that he has, you want to give maybe a second look and really deep dive into why he picked that spot for them. So, but yeah, the 8 is definitely on my radar. 15-1, I think it's a crazy price as well, just to see how well this horse is working out and coming into the race. So 9 with the 4-8 for me in race 2 of the Breeders' Cup start.
Yeah, I like that. You can't take them all, but the ones you did mention were definitely the ones that I was looking at on the underneaths.
Yeah, well, you can take them all. You can press that all button if you want.
You can for the 3rd position. You can on the top of the 2nd position. I've learned that you can go broke quick. Side note: Jeff Siegel, who does the morning lines for Del Mar, has caught a lot of flack for his odds making for this Breeders' Cup. It seems like, listen,
I like to hear
these numbers are not going to stay.
No,
these numbers are not going to stay come race day. Some will float up. A lot of these are going to float down because it seems like it was, 8-1 or under, and then everything else was 20 and 30-1. Everything was kind of blowing out. So the odds will change. Let's give the guy a little break here for his odds make.
I couldn't do it. I definitely couldn't do it.
It's a tough job, and you're not going to please anybody, so it really doesn't matter.
One thing, Scottish Lassie, right? Is a favorite going into the race, and I don't know about you, but I didn't take too much stake into that last race. Was at the Frizette at BAQ, Belmont and Aqueduct. I thought it was an impressive race. Don't get me wrong. I think this horse was obviously, it was 6-1, and they stalked, they set off the speed, and they really didn't ask the horse, watching that race at all. Like, they didn't have to really do much to get the horse to get into gear. But I look at that grade 1 and I'm like, is there anybody in that field, for me personally, that I was like, they beat a world beater? That's kind of why I stayed away from the 10 in this one. But maybe it's stupid of me. Maybe this horse is just a legit beast. And, Jorge Abreu's got a monster in his barn. But, they won by 9 lengths. But again, I didn't take too much stake into that race. And I just didn't think it was, it was impressive, but it just wasn't, from competition wise, it just wasn't as standout to me.
I get what you're saying. Beating Snow White, who I actually like in this race, and I have it in the 2nd position, and beating that horse by 9 lengths, first time going around, to me that was kind of impressive due to the fact that this horse has ran a 22.5 and a 45-1 and just missed breaking its maiden on debut in those fractions, and then 22-8 and 46-2. A little slower and actually getting the jump off of Snow White and actually getting the lead, and then just not being able to catch. So could have just been, Scottish Lassie's day. I didn't hold enough stock in just that race. You can't really say body of work 2 races. I just think that you're going to see a little better break from Snow White in this race. Wasn't the best start, and I think if that's the case and they both go, I think Snow White gets the best of Scottish Lassie, and that one's going to falter. So if I had to choose the 2, I still would take the 2 over the 10 in that race. So you got to go against favorites when you feel it's an opportunity, and this is a race I think is a good opportunity. So couldn't agree with you more. Let's go to the 3rd race on Friday. This would be the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Now this one's at a mile, and it's on the grass, and I'm going to jump all over the 7 in this race, because I'm going to look for someone who can just sit more of a stalking trip. I don't want to be totally back, although I think it benefits closers more on turf. But I think thought process here is much the best. After breaking its maiden 2 back-to-back wins, a non-graded stakes race at Del Mar, and then a grade 3 in the Surfer Girl, beating a decent field and drawing off in both of those races pretty convincingly. Phil D'Amato, Hector Barrios. I like that horse has been at Del Mar 2 times, very comfortable on the surface. Speed figures are 3 improving, 4 if you go back to its debut, which had a 55 with Mike Smith, but 4 improving speed figures overall. Workouts are good. I do like to see the minute and 2 at the handling for the 5 furlongs that was run on October 26th. So that was kind of my point of where I was trying to look at. There's a lot of opportunity from speed, and there's a lot of opportunity from off-pace perspective. I think the 7 sits off and then takes the lead and draws off. I think it has the best ability to do that. I do like the 1 Lake Victoria underneath. This is going to be a shipper in for Aiden O'Brien and Ryan Moore. don't really have to say much more than running back-to-back grade ones and winning that race is pretty impressive and probably going to be a contender. I think the 4 Cynthian also is another one that could be in a stalking position. Has run 2 routes as of late, winning the Miss Grio, which is a grade 2. That's at Belmont at Aqueduct. It was really tough to kind of pin down anybody else because I think Kilwin also is a good one. I think AB and Tot is another one with Dylan Davis. It's another one that's probably going to come a little deeper. If I was really looking at closers, 10 would probably be higher up on my chain. I'm trying to handicap this one a little more forwardly placed versus going for deep closers. And then the 11, Fiery Lucy. This has got that Carol connection, Carol and Gavin Cromwell connection. So lots underneath that I like, not much far further than the exacta. I'm keeping the same horses here and adding in the 2 for the try, but I just put the 7 on top. Think it's going to be forwardly placed, sitting in a stalking position, be able to pass. Just seems to be the best with late kick, and kind of rolling the dice on this one. Hopefully, and to be all honest with you, at 5-2, I'm hoping for that price to actually go up a little bit. I don't think it'll get much more than that, but if I can get 3-1, I'll take that all day.
Yeah. I just realized I may have played myself a little bit here in these first 3 races because once again I'm going back to the well and I'm going to Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien.
Shipper.
Yeah, I just realized. I mean, obviously I'm in the weeds when I'm doing it. I'm just looking at horses. I'm looking at trips and
right.
So I mean the law of averages means that I'm probably going to lose one of these at least, unless he just comes out firing. Maybe not. I could be wrong.
Maybe not.
You never know.
You never know.
A horse that's 4 for 4. Very, very much in the win column and the accolades, right? Winning grade 1s, can win a grade 3, stakes races across the board. Ryan Moore has ridden this horse twice. He's won both times and, has not ridden this horse its entire career, but it doesn't really matter. Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, they team up and they're the dynamic duo when they come here. So I'm a big fan of this horse. I think, the thing that I noticed the most in watching the replays is that they probably, in my opinion, have the best turn of foot out of all these horses. Once they ask the horse to go, it does not stop. They really, really turn on the motors and turn on the jets. So I noted it because it's just something I saw that stood out to me when I was watching them. I think that they're going to be sitting there stalking, letting the speed kind of ensue in front of them, which in my opinion on turf, that's kind of what I want to happen anyway, right? I want a horse that's going to stalk and then push past everybody else down the stretch. That's why I handicapped it. So that's why I took the 1. Like I said, a very good turn of foot, very impressive in its 4 starts in its career. Underneath, I have the 7. I think you're spot on with everything you said on the 7. It's a very impressive horse. Hector Barrios obviously knows how to ride this horse, has ridden this horse to success in the 3 trips. It's a little bit of a step up here, which is why I was a little bit leery. But obviously, this horse has done everything right, and its 4 starts progressed in the speed figure category every race. And when they asked in the grade 3, they got it done in a dominant fashion and geared down. So again, that horse is going to be there. I think it's got to be, very close to the lead as well. If it is sitting stalking, I think it's a little bit of a harder trip for them. But if they get the lead, easy, and nobody else goes, it's going to be hard to pass that horse. So I've got the 7. I also have the 11 underneath. Everything you said there, right? Fiery Lucy, again, another horse. One thing I saw in this horse too, right? It is impressive. It's got the accolades, but it's got seconditis like a mofo. They love second place in the last 3 races. 4 of its 6 races, they come in second. So this horse necessarily doesn't like to win every race, but they will be close and they will be right there. I thought for a decent price, 30-1 is crazy morning line, right? If that price stays, that'd be great because if he does finish second, we're looking at a good payday. But again, seconditis, I think, again, step up here, but if they finish like they normally do, should be right there, could be right there. And I thought the 12, Dettori, getting the mount here, has ridden this horse in its 3 starts. I'd like to see a little bit better, speed figures, coming into this race, right? An 80 speed figure, I don't think is a good enough number in this race with this talent in here. But that's why I'm playing it underneath. I think that, even though they've had the success that they've had, they're not really tested like a grade 1 like they are now. Barely got the job done in the grade 2 at Keeneland. But again, too, that could play well into their situation as well because they're coming off of a good race and in good form. There's no layoff, there's no time in between that's worth noting. So again, a horse that's undefeated, I think, has to get a second look. You're getting Frankie Dettori, who's, clearly, a Hall of Famer and looking to make his stamp out there. Obviously, he rode out in California for a number of years. I was like 2 years or a year, maybe even. But nonetheless, rode out there. Had a lot of trips over the Del Mar surface, knows where he needs to go. And again, he's ridden this horse and he knows when he needs to pull the trigger. So again, I thought a juicy price underneath. I think you're gonna get a decent one, especially if a favorite wins, to juicing up that exacta. So yeah, I
Yeah.
went 1 with the 7, 11, and 12 in this race.
We both like the 11. We both like the 7. We both like the 1. We left off Heaven's Gate, the 8, and it was one of these ones where Ryan Moore has had the mount for 6 out of the 7 times that this horse has ran for Aiden O'Brien, but obviously taking his opportunity on the 1 versus the 8 in this race on Lake Victoria really just kind of sells out that Lake Victoria is the better horse here. And going back to what you were saying about the 12 was bothered in the last race too. It wasn't the easiest race in the Jessamine. Got a terrible start, a lot of trouble early, was able to overcome that and win the race. So I give it a little more credit for the 12. I just, again, I can't put them all. I could put them all for third. I just couldn't put them all for the second spot here. So Mayday Ready might be a nice, actually maybe close to the 20-1 that you're looking at here on the morning line.
I think so.
Should be kind of interesting. We're heading on to the next race. This one would be the Juvenile. Juvenile is going to be a mile and a 16th. Obviously for 2-year-olds, tough race when you're talking some of these races, but everything I've seen, watched all the Breeders' Cup action in the mornings, breakfast at Breeders' Cup. I've looked at all the workouts. Every time East Avenue is on the track, it's just the easiest way that you want to see a horse trip over the track. It just glides over, just very much on his toes. And I just like the way the horse looks in general. I can't see, looking at the speed figures and how this horse ran in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, just in the effort that it has and how it's been winning races, drawing away, whether it's 6 furlongs, whether it's a mile and a 16th. I think as much the best. The only thing that I was scared about was the post position at the rail, but I would say that the rail is better than taking the outside position. So if anybody's going to be able to figure out how to make the best route, would be Tyler Gaffleone, who had a hell of a meet, obviously, at Keeneland, won the jockey's title at Keeneland. But I'm going to take East Avenue as my top pick here. Not my top pick overall, but my top pick in this race for sure. I like Jonathan's Way for second. Crazy not to like a horse. I know it's Joel Rosario, but this is one that he definitely likes to work with pretty strong. Winning the Iroquois, I kind of hold a little stake in that race at Churchill. I like the 90 speed figure second out, improving off the 85 first time out, breaking its maiden at 100,000. Going to be a tough horse to beat. 5 was very questionable to be my top pick next to the 1, but due to the workouts, the 1 had to get the edge. 7 Gaming looks good. We're talking same conditions here. 2 times out, 2 wins, winning a lower grade stakes race, but then maiden race, and then winning the grade 1 Del Mar Futurity. 2 times over the track, 2 wins. 7's got it going on. It's got the home field advantage here, so I think that's going to be a little boast a little well. Figures are good. And then I do like the 10 here too, Chancer McPatrick as well. And this is another one that's going to be more deeper moving late. But if everything does fail up early, which a lot of these like to run in that forward position, the 10 could clean everything up here. So not really going much deeper than what I just gave you there, probably in a different handful of combinations. The 4 Ferocious was one I did like, but I think we're looking at maybe just a little outclass, losing to a couple of these that it's going to be running against. Don't think it has enough to beat them. Either of those or a few of the other ones I just mentioned. So we're going to take the 1 on top with 5, 7, 10, throw that 4 for third in the try.
I like it. The horses that you mentioned are definitely on my ticket here. I landed on the 7, so Gaming is my top pick here. Again, Bob Baffert teaming up with IRAD. It's not a combination you see very often, which I thought was also interesting, right? I mean, he could have went to Flavian Pratt, he could have went to Juan Hernandez, but he's got IRAD here, and I think that's interesting, right? Because they don't team up, but when they do, they have some really good stats together. You also know that IRAD is going to take his best opportunity, and this is one of those horses that I think has got really a good shot here. You know, they can set the fractions. If you look at the races that they ran at Del Mar, they can set up fractions, you know, at 21, 44, and then motor down and win a race by, you know, at 1:17, or they can go ahead and sit off the lead, stalk, and run into those same exact fractions and win the race, right? So it screams a tactical horse, right? You know, go from a 90 speed figure, and you take a massive jump up to a 99 speed figure, second time asking in a grade 1 and win it. that's enough for me to say, yeah, this horse is legit. It's a real deal. 8-1 is a crazy price. Again, like I said, this is Bob Baffert's playground. California racing is what he does. I wouldn't be surprised if he's wearing that, that nice yellow tie, that power tie on Friday to get some wins.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wins early. I just think, like I said, everything you see on the form. I mean, yeah, it's only 2 races. If you go watch the races, this horse is legit. It's very good, very solid. They just let the race come to them. And like I said, I mean, 2 for 2 over the Del Mar surface is a step up as well. So I've landed on 7 as my top pick. I like the 4 for second, Ferocious. The reason being, right, when they run the grade ones, they don't win them, but they're very close, or they come in second because they're going against a monster like East Ave, right? So I'll probably, if just thinking about it, I'll probably have East Ave in second on the ticket as well. I think it's kind of crazy that I left them off originally. But just again, early handicapping, you're in the weeds. I think the 4 has got a really good opportunity to close late and then just pick up the pieces there. And Javier is back. He's back to health. Obviously, he was out for a while, and he was lights out on his return. I think he won like 2 or 3 races first time back, with like 2 seconds in like 5 races. So he wants to get back in the saddle. He doesn't want to lose a step, and he's going to be riding hard. So yeah, you get Javier on this mount. I think it's a good opportunity for them to pick up the pieces here. And I think the 10, like you said, I mean, I don't necessarily think this horse is going to be coming too close to winning the race. But again, Flavian Pratt teaming up with Brad Cox, they obviously have a ton of business together. 3 for 3 in this race, or in this campaign. Has ridden in the grade ones and gotten the job done both times. Obviously, Ferocious has been in those races. And one of those races came in second. But I think it's going to be a very close second place with the 10 coming in. So, yeah, I think it's very impressive there. I mean, there's a whole bunch you can say about it. The horse looks legit. Chad Brown. Oh, sorry, did I say Chad Brown? Sorry. I don't know if I said.
I think
Chad
it's
Brown,
Cox, but yeah,
I think I said Cox, but Chad Brown. But yeah, you're getting, I mean, a combination that's been very, very successful. And yeah, they check a lot of boxes. I'm not looking for a short price on Breeders' Cup Day, even though maybe I should, because those pools are ridiculous and you're getting paid even if favorites win.
Yeah.
But it's just not my nature. But again, I think a horse that's impressive, fits the bill, has gotten the job done in 3 starts. So first time over the Del Mar surface, you never know how they're going to take, but great turn of foot coming down the race. So like I said, I landed with the 7, 4, and 10. But I probably won't be too crazy, and I'll probably throw the 1 in come race day.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that here, because the 4, everybody in this race has an opportunity to go to the front. I think the 7 is going to lay off a little bit. 1 is definitely going to be going to the front with a few others. The only ones that don't break and tend to be the closers here are the 4, the 9, and the 10. You've got 2 of those in your second spot, and that could be really the key trip here, because there could be a lot of early speed going out, and I think the 4 and the 10 could be really right there to pick up the pieces late. So way to have 2 closers in your second position here in a race that just seems like it's just going to be balls to the wall early.
So a lot of speed.
Let's clean up the last race for the Friday card, which would be the Juvenile Turf. Again, this one is going to be on the turf for a mile. Last one on Friday. I'm going to go with the 4 in this race. I don't know if there's any big surprise here. It's 4-1. It's El Kudra. Horses is really a couple things here, right? You got Doyle, the Doyler riding this horse. Hasn't ridden this horse except for back on April 16th of 2024, and came at 4th in that race in kind of like just a balanced out time. And then ever since then, had some ups and downs. Didn't really do the best in the Coventry Grade 2 with Buick, but was only a length off. Then comes back and wins a Grade 1 by 2 lengths, or wins the Eterie, and then the summer second with Buick. First time out in the States. I wouldn't even say the States, in the continent here at Woodbine in a decent time. First time going over the grass. Like I said, just looks to be in the body of work when I'm trying to figure out a turf race here. I like that Doyle's riding the race. I may have liked it a little better if Buick was riding it due to the familiarity, but James Doyle is just as good a jockey as Buick. Is a strong contender over there overseas, and Charles Appleby usually has good contenders when it comes to this race. This is just a horse I think that I'm looking at has a lot of ability and speed, should be able to comfortably come off the pace and run them down. And there's enough speed in here early on. There's a few I think that are definitely going to be going on early on up top. I do like the one Satono Carnival. That's a Japanese horse. I think that one's going to be in the mix, and I like that one in the exotics. I like Dream On also, the 2 for Mark Cassie. The 3 Noble Confessor has a good opportunity as well. Is going to be one that's going to be coming off the pace. The 5 Zulu Kingdom. This is one that should also be sitting mid-pack and moving out late. 2 graded stakes races recently at Saratoga and Belmont. Both of those at a mile and the 16th. Made really good moves. Won both. You're getting Pratt back on off of Rosario. And then I like the 11 and the 14 also. So I got all kinds of action. You New Century and Tenacious Leader. Tenacious Leader got added on here recently due to the works and what I was watching on the track since it got over to Del Mar. So I like the 4 on top, looking for some prices underneath. I think you're going to get some bombs underneath. This one may be the in my eyes, I think this one could be the one that's going to pay the biggest one. It's going to remind me of last year when we hit that big try going into the Saturday card. So I'm hoping to do the same here and, maybe catch a flyer here with the 4 to 1 on top with some big prices underneath, get a couple $100 try to carry it over to Saturday. So 4, a shit ton, and a shit ton more for 3rd.
Yeah, I think that last race too was a William Buick, Charlie Appleby combo in the last race. So might want to upgrade them on your ticket maybe just a little bit. But be that as it may, I'm kind of off the beaten path a little bit here. I have the 5 as my top pick. 3 for 3 for this horse. One thing that stood out to me is I think the true players in this race, right, the ones that everybody's looking at, not a lot of them have gone the 2 turns, right? I think that's something to be noted. When you go 2 turns, it's a little bit of a different style, and obviously your horse has to take to those 2 turns, right? I mean, if you're running 7 furlongs and you're going to now, a mile on the turf, it's a little bit different, and obviously you got to take that into consideration how they're going to react. So like I said, I think the true players in this race, when I'm looking at them, not all of them have that ability and have that under their belt. The 5 does, and that's why I like what I'm seeing there. You're getting Flavian Pratt again with a Chad Brown horse. Obviously, we know Chad was very specific on the races that he wanted to put his horses in, and definitely looked at the card a little bit different, right, in terms of where he was going to place them. So I think it's a strategic play. I think they like what they have here. I know Flavian likes what he has underneath. The horse, again, back-to-back races, consistent, is, in my opinion, probably one of the better closers in the race. And it doesn't really matter if this horse doesn't break, right? It's not break dependent. They can sit mid-pack. They can be a little bit shuffled back because they know what they've got and they know what they have to close down the race. So that's why I like the 5 a lot here. The trips, if you watch the trips, are very good, and they're always timing it perfectly, right? They're not winning by 7 lengths and drawing off. They're timing it perfect. They're getting the head down, winning by a net in the last 2 races. So I think it's something to note. And you're getting Flavian Pratt on turf in California. He was the turf king in the West Coast. So before he, moved his tack to the East Coast and the Midwest. So I like what I'm seeing there out of the 5. I think it's a really good opportunity for him. I have the 11. I think you'd be crazy to leave this horse off. Very, very solid horse, right? The last race you watched that was dominant fashion. Has beaten a couple of horses that are in this race as well. Has gone a mile, so that's something to note there, right? It's got it under its belt. At Woodbine, that track is a little different as well. I think it's a really thick, lush turf course out at Woodbine. From what I see in those pictures at Del Mar, it looks very nice and probably similar fashion there. O'Shane Murphy making the trip here. Again, another jockey that's gotten the job done at Del Mar. He's won. I think he won last year, or not last year, last time at Del Mar. I forget what horse it was. It may have been the Japanese horse. I forget. But obviously success over the track. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he has underneath as well. Like I said, that last trip at Woodbine was in the summer was very good and a lot of ground to make up, and they did it. So again, another closing angle at the 11. I like what I see there. And like I said, the 12, William Buick and Charlie Appleby, they do a ton of business. And just from what I can tell, Buick is always on Appleby's best horses. I don't know if this was a selection by him, if it was a selection by Appleby, or if it was just the luck of the draw and James Doyle got the better of the 2 mounts. I have no idea. In my mind, it makes me think that this horse is a lot more capable than what the odds may lead on at 10 to 1. William Buick ridden the last 3 races, got the job done. The grade 2 went to a grade 1, obviously faltered and didn't get the job done there. But again, I just, connection wise and what I've seen, This horse seems like it's legit. Again, it's a closer. It's a horse that's got a good turn of foot, and again, you get the combination that you're looking for when it comes to the shippers. So again, I upgraded it. The grade one might be a little bit too much in this field for this horse, but again, I rode in a grade two, and it was very very much the best. So I think maybe going to a grade one, maybe they don't get the job done and win it, but I think definitely can sweep up some of that money late.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense to have the 11 on the ticket. Obviously, the 12 is an interesting call. I like that play. The 5 makes a lot of sense, as you said. I know that's your top pick. I had it in the second position, but listen, this is a horse that's really just been consistent, right?
Yeah.
The 5 Zulu Kingdom.
Yep.
I like a 2-year-old that can split between horses and still gain ground, has no
Yeah.
fear of hitting the hole, and that's exactly what Zulu Kingdom has been doing.
Yeah.
And I just think it's pretty impressive what it's done so far. And I think it sets up well for this horse to be closing late. I may have to upgrade that, maybe some tickets with that in the top position. Possibly.
Yeah, if you watch that race at Belmont at Aqueduct, right?
The Pilgrim.
Yeah. I mean, this horse was
Yeah.
sitting behind the speed, and then just a little hole opened up against the rail, and they pulled through, and then they just went. Like it was a perfectly timed ride. So I think
With
it's
the
important.
anticipation wasn't much different.
Yeah.
And
So
I just like that confidence in a young horse, 3 times over the track.
Yeah.
And it just, the third time, it has that confidence to be able to go. Just really listens to the rider. Pratt's a smart rider, obviously, and he's gonna get the most out of his opportunity. So Zulu Kingdom may have to be an upgrade for me as well. So that's going to cover us for Friday. We still got Saturdays to do. And in all honesty, I think I'm going to, instead of getting long-winded, I'm probably just going to give you my top pick. All my selections will be up there. But I think just talking about the top picks will probably be important. If you want to still cover some of your exotics, that's fine. Or if you have anything that you want to add on a second horse, I don't want the stream to go 4 hours here. I'm trying to be a little conscious, I guess, of the viewers. And the listeners, I guess, too, for the audio podcast. But we'll go ahead and move it on over for the Saturday card. We'll start the Saturday card. Obviously, it's the fourth race of the day. For that, it would be the filly and mare. I believe it's the filly and mare sprint, correct?
It is. Yes, it is the filly and mare. No,
filly and mare sprint, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you had me thinking there
filly
for a
and
second.
mare sprint. Yeah.
Yep. Now this was a tough race, and they're all going to be tough on the Saturday card. I think I tend to be a little more confused when it comes to how horses are going to run on a given day that are already experienced versus horses how they're going to run the first time. I'm a little more decisive when it comes to that, but I eventually went to the 6 here. Society is my top pick. It wasn't easy, and in looking at the whole figure, the body of work here with Society, and I'm looking at the distance here at 7 furlongs. It's really not the ideal distance if you're looking at paper for this horse on 7 furlongs. I would think that 6 furlongs might be a little better, but it had some success early on in late in the 2023 campaign. It's a 4-year-old. That's where it was winning and running great speed figures, 105, 106. And then maybe not the best debut coming out and having a third in the Chicago, but this is only going to be his third race, and winning the Ballerina, I think finally just, kind of got his confidence back. That was against 3 years old and up, and beat a couple in here in a very tough race. That I also like the ones underneath there as well. But Society's going to get the nod. I'd like the 36 and 2 handling, 3 furlong work, just a recent, and the minute and 1/5 for 5 furlongs. Just behind that, both of those. One at Churchill, the 3 furlongs was at Del Mar, obviously, and I like that it took to the track fairly well. It'd be the first time over the surface, and that's Steve Essman, Tyler Gaffleone. So I'm going to take the 6 on top. The plays you see there, I like the 4. Vava is going to be tough. I do like the 9 underneath, which is Ways and Means. Hard to get away from that one, too. And Scylla. Scylla almost was my top pick. If it wasn't breaking from the outside in 7 furlongs, I may have swung back over. It's cutting back in distance a little bit. Last time out at 7 furlongs, just really couldn't catch Society. Maybe it flips the script this time. But I'm gonna go with the 6 on top, the 4, 9, 10, and a handful for the try underneath.
We're very much aligned in this race, except for my top pick. I took a swing here. Hopefully I can pad those stats early. I like 1 Magic Filly. This horse has got some really good breeding, obviously out of good magic. You're getting Antonio Frisu, who, if you watch California racing, you're very familiar with the name. He is a very, very dominant jockey and an up-and-coming talent that you're going to be seeing for probably many years to come. He's ridden this horse its entire career. They're not running, every race in a grade one, or grade two, so it doesn't have the accolades. But I mean, if you look at that race at Del Mar, right? So something to note, 2 for 2 over the surface. But the last race on September 2nd of this year ran a 106 speed figure. When I compare that to the rest of the field, it's probably one of the best speed figures, if not, at least top three in this race. Where, you know, if he runs anywhere near, or if she runs anywhere near that speed figure, she's going to be very, very
Mhm.
much competitive and in the front and in the lead. This horse does her best work on the lead. I think they got to get out. They got to go and break well and be there. But again, I mean, if you look at the Chillingworth grade three, they prevailed. They geared down. It was just really, um, a great race and a good one to come into this race here, preparing for a bigger step up in class. So I like everything I'm seeing there. Free Sue and D'Amato. I think it's a good opportunity for him. Like I said, 10-1 is a great price. I'd love to start my day like that. Underneath, I've got pretty much all the same horses that you have. The sixth, for obvious reasons, Society is very, very good, right? I mean, it's one of
Mhm.
the best horses in the field. Consistent speed figures across the board, triple digit speed figures, rides in grade ones, consistently gets the job done. Tyler obviously is Tyler. He's going to ride his horse the way he needs to. The nine, like you said, I think Ways and Means is a logical choice here, right? I mean, it's going to be the one to beat. Um, that track record in the
Yeah.
last three races is eye opening and very, very much tested. And then the 10 as well, like you said, Scylla definitely gets an upgrade. You get Mike Smith. His mounts are selective. Doesn't have a ton of opportunities here, but this is a horse that's capable of a big run and could see an upset here with this one too. So
Yeah, I again agree everything you said there. Ways and Means, this one beat out your Emery, which was your top pick at Keeneland just recently, and that
yep,
was the easiest winner. That was your lock, but that was on an
yep,
off track in the test,
yep.
and I hold a lot of weight because I think Emery is an amazing horse, and for Ways and Means to win that race by a couple lengths, if it's the off track,
Yep.
but maybe the horse is just as good as it shows to be. We're gonna find out on Saturday, but I have Ways and Means in the second and third position in the exotics. Not in the winning position, just like you. And I think Scylla also has a chance for a big upset. So, kind of a line there, but a little off the green there on your first pick with the two. So, I like that we're different again on that.
Me
Let's go ahead to the
too.
next race, Breeders' Cup. This is the turf sprint. So I like that we always like kind of shift a little bit. We go from like dirt to grass, and then back to dirt, and back to grass. So the alternating helps out because you can't handicap a race like on the day of and stick with your thought process from the last race, because you got to remember what we did on turf 2 races ago, and you got to remember how it works on the sprint. Is where they get you. They kind of try to throw a little curve at you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take a little bit of a chance in this one as well. I I'm loading up here, so it's going to take a second. But I got the 9 on top. I believe, yeah, I'm just running a little
Cogburn.
slow. Right. Cogburn's going to be tough to beat. It just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to go against a horse that has been as consistent as Cogburn has. It's the one to beat. It's going to be the morning line. It's a morning line favorite. It's going to be odds on favorite. This one plans to be really, really chalky. Without getting cute or trying to figure out any way to try to beat Cogburn, I was just trying to find what prices I could put with it. That's going to make a little more sense. Motorious is when I like the two. I think that's one I think I can actually shift off a little bit. Again, this is D'Amato and Fresu teaming up. 8-1. I hope that floats up a little bit because I think that horse is a very legit chance to hit the board. Howard Wolowitz, again, this is more on works and recent form. In the grade one at Kentucky Downs, there's been this big conversation about horses that coming out of Kentucky Downs are like 0 for 5 million. And that's fine. I'll still get to take my chance on the underneath and get a price at 30-1 with Howard Wolowitz, which will be coming off the pace. And then I do like the 12 as well. Here's one I think that maybe Bradsell is probably the second best horse in this field overall from the body of work. Just a lot of races, 12 lifetime races as a 4-year-old. You've got already 4 already here in its 4-year-old campaign with 3 wins in a second. I like some of the tracks that it's run at. I like betting horses that come out of those tracks. I like betting horses that come out of those races that ship over. So it was almost impossible for me to go against Cogburn. If I was going to, probably Bradsell would be the one to do it. So I'll just take the 9 on top. I'll go 2, 7, 12. And let's get one of these bombs in for the third position. And that would be either the 3, the 5, I think the 6 also has a good opportunity. The 8, 10 also to hit the board. Any of those hit, even with Cogburn on top, you're still probably going to get a nice try, and that's what I'm looking for.
Which one did you throw out in the third position? The 1 and the 4? Just
yes, I threw out the 1 and the 4. Yep.
Don't even don't even short yourself any money. Just throw the all button in the third position. don't skimp out on the 2 horses you left off there for third.
Okay. And then listen, I have a reason why I'm not going with Believing, and I just didn't like the way it acted on the track yesterday. It was very hesitant. It was backing up. It wouldn't get off the chute. It wouldn't engage. This could be the normal trip for this horse. This could be the norm every time it goes out to the track. I have no idea, but me seeing it, I'm like, I'm just going to take that one and not put it in, and it'll probably cost me. It'll probably cost me.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You never know. I do have the 1 in second, but we'll talk about that.
I see that. I see that now. Yeah.
Bradsell is the horse that I landed on. That's a 12. Holly Doyle. I think that this horse, it's going to go out to the front. They're going to be very much close to the lead, if not on the lead. At the 5 furlongs distance, it's a distance specialist. Holly Doyle rides this horse brilliantly. If you watch some of the replays, they get to the lead. And one thing that I appreciate that she does, and I know all jockeys probably do this, but it's almost like she makes a conscious effort to see where her foes are at when she's down the stretch, because she's leading for so long. And she just needs to know how close that next horse is getting. And then she kicks it into gear and gets into the horse. And that's what you saw, and when they do, they're going to be pressed. They're going to be running everything down in the tank, but this horse has a pretty large tank that I can tell. And if you look at that race, that is, what is that? Kura? I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. I mean, that was a race that you want to watch. This horse, again, at the lead, Believing is coming very, very stoutly, is right on their tail, and she looks over, sees it close, and just goes, right? And then that's what I think you're going to see here in this race. Get position. I don't like coming from the 12, but that just makes me feel like, okay, you're not going to have to worry about getting pinched. So if you get out and you break clean, you just have to get out and over. So that's all you got to worry about.
She'll know where to put.
So I like that. I don't mind it as much. Like I said, it's a little bit, if they get stuck out on the outside, it's going to be a problem, but hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I mean, go watch that race. I think it's very impressive. I think, again, this horse knows when to go. I have the 1 underneath. Now, I might be thinking about that twice if everything you said is true, with this horse acting up on the track. Maybe doesn't take to the surface as well or take to the track. But this horse, again, is very much a closer, a stalker. They're going to get into this horse. They're going to be trying to make up that ground late. If Bradsell, for some reason, gets pressed and doesn't get an easy, lead at the front, this horse has got the turn of foot that I think could actually come down and possibly win a race for the connections there. And then I think the 9, I think it's obvious, but the 9 is obviously one to look at, Cogburn. One of these horses.
Either way.
Yeah, however you want to say it. This horse is much the best. It's Steve Asmussen, it's Irad. They've got their bread, buttered here in this race. They know exactly what they've got. There's no surprise if this horse wins and draws off. I would not be surprised by any means. But again, another horse that's got to go to the front. It's got to get the fraction. So this one has some foes to the left and right that they could get pinched. They might not get the best break. If I was one of these horses to the inside or the outside, my job would be make sure that they don't get the cleanest trip, to make sure that, they don't get that easy lead. And so that's what I'm thinking is going to happen here.
Robin's racing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's going to be not a trouble trip, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But you never know. You never know what they're going to do with that 10 horse on the outside either, the Grand Motion horse. So, but like I said, the 9 is very much, a logical choice in this field. I think it makes a lot of sense. If they win, I'm not going to be surprised. But I'm just looking for a little bit more juice in this race, and that's why I landed on the 12. So 12 with the 1-9 is where I'm going.
I'm not mad at you going with the 12 on top. I don't think the post position is going to matter as much. We'll just see how it goes. It's 5 furlong race. It's going to be over before you know it. Cogburn's just been tough to beat. If I take Cogburn on top, probably most likely he'll go ahead and finish second. Probably lose the Brads. So I wouldn't want to go more deep unless you really feel like there's a price underneath that are going to catch it. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
But Cogburn's going to be your favorite, most definitely. If it comes in 9-12 or 12-9, it's not going to pay much. Just tell you that right now. Let's
Yep.
move on to the distaff. Distaff, really not much to talk about here. I can just tell you that Torpedo Anna is my horse. They just keep dropping off. Nobody wants to race against her. I really wish she would have ran the Classic. I thought it would have been a little more drama, but Kenny McPeak and this horse have done everything they've needed to do to promote the sport of horse racing.
Yep.
We got an opportunity to see her in the Travers against Fierceness. Everything you could ask for, this horse has done, and then some. And again, probably as good as East Avenue, Torpedo Anna looks even 10 times better when she's on the track. And there's no doubt about it. It's going to be my top single. I do like Candied. I don't like the rail, but I like the one. I think Candied could have a good opportunity to hit the board here for Irene Ortiz and Todd Pletcher. Just really good consistency overall from the track and on the works, and really look good on the track at Del Mar this week. I think the 6 also is going to be in my underplay, Raging Sea. This is another one with the Brown Pratt connection. Just really been consistent on this stalking trip, this mid pack, no more than 7-8 lengths off. Likes to be a little closer 3-4, which I hope is the case here, since we are going the we are going the turn of foot here late that I want to see in some of these races. This one has definitely got it. So Raging C's got to be on the docket for me here. And then last but not least, second awesome is the 9 Awesome Result. This one came on late. This was more like a third, fourth choice. I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with some of these horses that are shipping over from overseas, especially one from the Japanese area here. So I just like everything I'm seeing from the closing perspective on this horse. In some decent times and some decent class. Nothing over the top, but has already been out 3 times, 3 for 3 this year. They saw something in it. I like the way it handled the track so far. Nothing over the top, but it could be a price. I know it's 4-1. I think it would go up a little bit. I think people aren't going to have as much confidence because there's a lot of money's going to go on Torpedo Anna. So, but the 9 makes sense for it to hit the board. The only other one I have in the try would be the 7, which is Honor D Lady. D's nuts. Tyler and Safi at 30-1. If you don't put Tyler and Safi on at 30-1, you're never going to find them at a price like that, at least in your tries and exotics. So I would definitely want to have that, especially with a 59-2 5 furlong workout most recently on October 23rd. So Torpedo Anna on top, 169-7.
Yeah. I'm not going to get too crazy here, and I'm not going to go into this race too much. I think Torpedo Anna is much the best here. One thing that this horse, I think we all know, but this horse has gone against the boys and almost won that race too. It's the best horse, and if I get beat on this race and it's not her day for some reason, I'm going to go ahead and just take that loss. I'd be crazy to go against this horse. 4-5 is, I think, even a generous line in this field. I think you're going to get some very short money on this horse. She is a dominant horse. I mean, she's, in my opinion, the best 3-year-old in the country. You can say whatever you want. There's a lot of talent out there, but look at her track record and look at how she wins. She does it in style. And Brian, and Kenny, they just, like you said, have done a lot for the sport. Have this horse race in a field that's very difficult. Putting in the Travers, I think, was just a huge big ball play by Kenny McPeak. And they almost won. And they almost won, so maybe a little bit of a better, better, I wouldn't even say a better trip. I think just getting this horse in gear a little bit sooner, having that open up for them, they may have been very much the winner in that race. We may have seen that. So again, the 2 is much the best. I'll take that 1 on the chin if they lose. I don't think they're going to. If I was singling any type of horizontal, wagering, this would be a easy single. You're not going to make much money unless you put high dollars on it, but it's an easy no-brainer in my opinion. The 6, like you said, Raging Sea. I mean, it's a combination. I just don't think they're good enough to beat Torpedo Anna. But if I was looking at horses that, if Torpedo Anna wasn't running in, Raging Sea would be on my top of my list. They've gotten the job done. They're very consistent. Pratt knows this horse. One time he hasn't ridden this horse, so obviously he knows exactly what he's got. I think it's an impressive horse. And like you said, the Japanese horse coming over, Awesome Result, I think is also taking a lot of notice on the track. Undefeated. Again, I don't know what those races look like, in Japan and what competition they're running into. This is obviously, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter who they ran against. This is going to be a step up no matter what. They have to run a very big race. And if they do, and they end up winning that race, more power to you. Congratulations, because that's a hell of a win. So I just went very simple, 2 with the 6-9. It might be even a race I stay off of, just in case, it comes in super chalky. For a $2 exacta, maybe it ain't shit, but you're not going to be making the money you think you're gonna in this race if it comes down like I think it's going to.
Yep. I feel like this is where the card's going to shift to start getting chalky as we start progressing here from the distaff. This is where it's, if you're losing money now, you're really not going to have a chance to make much back up because it's going to get chalky for a little bit.
I think the best way
On
to
that
make
note,
money in this race is just to stay off the race, and
yeah, maybe that's the
save it
key.
for the next one.
Yeah, time to get a hot dog and a beer
Yeah.
and come back. Let's move ourselves over to the Breeders' Cup Turf. And again, I'm not going to get cute on this one here. I think it's a very good race, but I'm gonna definitely stick with my top pick. Maybe a little bit of a price more than what you'd expect. I'm gonna take the 6 Far Bridge on top. Wasn't an easy decision, but the last 2 races, the Sword Dancer and the Turf Classic, both impressive with Joel Rosario. Both of those are at 1.5 miles, and Joel's. We've talked about this before on the podcast. He's had his moments. I think he's riding a lot better. This is a horse I know that he's pretty consistent with, and I think he's going to do quite well with. I think it has an opportunity to win. We're at 1.5 miles here on the turf. Horse should be very comfortable. I think it sets up really well from a speed perspective for the 6 to win here. So 6 is going to be my top pick. I don't think I'll change. I had a very big battle here with the 5 with JRB. I thought this was one that maybe I wanted to put on top. I just don't know enough on how this horse is going to react shipping over. I guess that would be one of my concerns. I haven't seen enough on the workout tabs for this horse, or even since it shipped over. I haven't caught anything since it got to Del Mar. Maybe that's something I'll look out. I know the workouts are all getting published and posted, so we can, probably look at some of those back. Maybe this one does move up. Looks to be tough on paper, but I really want to see something a little more before I would have put it above Far Bridge. I think the 2's got a great opportunity too. There's another one that's shipping in, Emily Upjohn. This is one that I'm getting a lot of buzz around the track about. We're hearing a lot. I think the Tory's actually been a big vocal piece for this, for John Godson. Today, I know specifically in the interview, he talked high on Emily Upjohn. He's rode this horse before, so he's familiar with it. He's got a lot of history going back last year with this horse early on over in Ascot and Epsom. So he said he couldn't remember the last time he rode the horse, but he definitely remembers riding the horse, and he's been on the work so far and taking it out and breezing it and whatnot and just trotting it over the track. So this is one that kind of is the buzz going on right now at a decent price. And then I also like the 11, which is Rebels Romance. Makes a lot more sense actually for Charles Appleby and William Buick here. This one has been running in a lot of tougher races, a lot of grade 1 races, winning those races overseas. This one could be a really tough one in the mix. Maybe this is the one that I move on top. It's going to be tough, but these are my top 4. You see, I don't even add anything else in addition here for my tries. I may play around with a few of these different variations or box all 4, but I got 6 for now with the 2, 5, 11.
Yeah, we're very close. I just didn't have the 5 on my ticket. I've got the 2, Emily Upjohn. I think everything you said there, right? Frankie's gotten the mount before. He's gotten the job done on this horse. This horse hasn't necessarily shown much in the last couple of starts, which is, maybe a head scratcher for some. But again, if you watch these races back and you look at this horse, they're going to make a very tough close in this race. I think they've got a really good turn of foot. We're going to see a flying dismount at some point, I think, in this Breeders' Cup. It just depends on when. And I'm picking my spots here, and I think Frankie Dettori has got a really good opportunity. I think in that interview, too, he's leading a little less on than what he actually knows here. Playing a little fuck with the public here, because
That could
5
be.
to 1 could be. I think 5 to 1 is a great price, and they're going to close. And those last 2 starts, right, in both the grade 1 races, they did not win, but they did not lose by much, right? So I think if Frankie times the close a little bit better, position this horse where they need to be, right? Obviously, perfect trip in a perfect world, perfect speed breakdown at the top. They really do have a good opportunity. Like I said, it's not the best of showings late, but a one that I think you can definitely see. I think the odds also reflect it. 5 to 1 for a horse that hasn't won in quite some time kind of speaks volumes to the capability of the horse. So I like what I'm seeing there. Like I said, I'm picking my spots here. I think they got a good opportunity. Obviously, the 6, like you said, Farbridge, Joel Rosario. He's going to do Joel Rosario things on Saturday. He's gonna do what he does best. I think he's gonna shuffle this horse maybe a little bit too far back, but he just hasn't been riding as great as I'd like to see him, which goes without saying. Not taking anything away from him. He's a great jockey, but he's just burned me too many times to put him on top. From what I'm seeing, obviously back-to-back grade 1 winners. They can go to the front or they can sit off. It doesn't really matter. They let the race come to them. Very tactical. Saratoga got the job done, and BAQ. but small field sizes also to note, right? They're not running in
Yeah.
large field sizes. So I think it's a little bit different, especially if you get shuffled too
Yeah.
far back. So that's why, again, like I said, I was just a little off, but it's Kristoff, it's Joel. It's one of my favorite combinations of all time. Just obviously it's burned me so many times where now I'm kind of falling off a little bit. But and then the other one, like you said, I mean, Rebels Romance is going to be the horse to beat here. They're the favorite for a reason. It's going to take a big effort to beat them, and I'm going to just try to beat them in this race.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, for everything you see on the form, for everything you see in the replays, the connection, everything checks the box here. You know, they're going to be stubborn. They're going to be right there. And, you know, it's going to be a tough beat. But if they do get beat, I like my chances with where I'm going. But if you take the 11 on top, I don't fault you for it because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting race. I think this could be the box opportunity and try to beat the favorite. But like you said, there's some strong plays here to, if you're looking at it, to go outside of what the common picks are right now.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move it on over to Why Not the Classic midway through the card. I don't like this move. I know they're doing it for reasons for airing on NBC, that they want to make sure that their viewers get to go watch college football. But, you know, you only get 2 days a year to really broadcast a full day of racing of championships. And I think you need to let horse racing have its day and have the Classic go last like it has for many years prior to last year, but all those years prior. So I'm off my soapbox, but I just want to make sure that I voice my opportunity to say, I don't like the Classic in the middle. It's the biggest build.
The biggest race.
It's the biggest race, and you're having it in the middle of the day.
Yeah, like
right.
I want to finish my day on the biggest race. I want to. If I'm going to lose, I want to lose in the biggest race. I don't want all this build up and then you know, or vice versa. I want to win, but
the Kentucky Derby is not the first race of the day.
Yeah.
It's usually second to last, but usually it's
second to last. Yeah.
Still, put it towards the end. Don't put it.
Yeah, let's start off with the Derby next year, and we'll just have all these other races.
All right, in the Classic, I'm throwing up a dart here because it's a very competitive race. A lot of these horses are very familiarized with each other. I'm taking Sierra Leone, and I'll say this: the horse has done absolutely nothing wrong, and I think I've said this before about a few other horses in years past when we talk about classic horses. This horse is like a few lengths away from being, you know, one of the best horses for this year, one of the best 3-year-olds. But unfortunately, you know, losing the Kentucky Derby by a nose, third in the Belmont, second in the Jim Dandy, third in the Travers. It just kind of now starts getting into this mode where it's like maybe this horse is just good second and third. It's never going to get back to where it was in the Risen Star and Bluegrass. But I will tell you this. I don't see why the race really sets up well for this horse to come off the pace. I think there's enough speed in here to run some very good fractions where I think Sierra Leone can run it down. Now you've got Pratt on board here. Tyler hasn't had the opportunity since losing the Derby, but he's still in good hands. And like I said, it's the Brown Pratt connection. I just feel like this is one that it's bound to win it. Feel good about itself. We can start talking about Sierra Leone being a top horse again versus just drifting off into the history books as a woulda, coulda. So I'm taking the 11 on top. I'm going to take a little bit of a stab. I think Free Every Young is going to be very, very tough. I think this could be the 1-2 combination that we saw, you know, underneath Mystic Dan in the Kentucky Derby. However, I just didn't like the one post position for Forever Young. So it just downgraded back to the second position here for me. I think I'm looking for prices, obviously, now to try to make this even a bigger one. The 8 Pyrenees, I think, is really good. Fierceness, obviously. I'm going against the grain. It's already been out there. It's already been stated that the winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile has never come back to win the Classic the following year. It's been tried 8 times or 7 times. It hasn't happened. I think it's actually a total of 8, but one horse tried it twice in the Classic and was unsuccessful. So I don't think Fierceness is breaking any records here. Horse could be really great. I'll probably have to reach out to our connections on the East Coast that'll be out there to see if they have any insight, because if they do, I may change my bet. And then furthermore here, I like the 12 Arthur's Ride. There's nothing really this horse hasn't done that's been great. You know, defeated 2 back here, 4 back here at Churchill on an off track. I can scratch that one out. The last time out in the Mile and a Quarter in the Jockey Club. Don't really know what happened there, but the horse gets back to its winning ways here, and the speed figures it has been running. It could be very dangerous, and the 14 would always be a nice price next. Next has done nothing wrong. It's another horse. I just don't like the post position on the 14, but I can't see this horse not winging, and I know Machado's going to have this one going. I think it's his only amount at Breeders' Cup, and he will have this one flying early and get into position. If anybody, I'll have confidence in him, and he won't stand up early in this race. He'll go ahead and run this one out until he's well past the wire if he gets the opportunity. So next is another great one on the outside at 8-1. I think that's going to float up. So taking a shot here with the 11 Sierra Leone with some prices underneath and then some additional ones in the try that I think could be a nice juicy one if we can get fierceness off the ticket.
Would be great. The only thing about Sierra Leone is I wish Tyler would be back aboard, right your wrongs and put the jockey that's gotten it done back aboard.
That would be the true comeback story. You put
cool.
him back on and he wins the classic. That would be
could
great.
have been cool. That would have been awesome. But I don't fault you for that. Sierra Leone is always right there. So it makes a lot of sense. I am taking that horse that you just spoke about next out of the 14 hole.
I like it.
Take a look at the form. Call me crazy. Is there any other horse in this field that's been this dominant? Now, granted, they're not stepping up to a grade 1, but I don't really think it matters. This horse literally has not done anything wrong its entire career. They had one bad race way back when. You got to go all the way back to May 3rd of last year, and their worst finish was 3rd. And I think you just really can't fault this horse for anything. It's running the best speed figures in the entire race, consistent speed figures. They go out to the lead. They just romp every single time. 8-1. I think this is a perfect move for them because again, they've been showing out in these grade 2s and grade 3s, and even some ungraded stakes races. But you go into an ungraded stakes races and you win by 22 lengths. I mean, I don't even know if fierceness, if you put him in an ungraded stakes race, wins by 22 lengths. This horse has been extremely dominant no matter where they go. If you look at Saratoga in that ungraded stakes races in a deep track, a track that I think is very similar to Del Mar, they absolutely destroyed that field. Did not look back. Again, they're not running against these horses. They're not running against fierceness. I understand that. But for a horse that's been this dominant, it's hard for me to go and say they can't win a race like this. So I'm all over this horse.
And you're cutting back in distance.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is a benefit, actually. The horse moves well earlier, so the distance I think it bodes well.
I do too. Like I said, you can call me crazy. 8-1, I think is free money on this horse. Even if you play like a win play show across the board, I think this horse is very much worth it. And I think if they win this race, there's no reason why they can't be in contention for one of the best horses out there. So again, 8-1, 14 next. Again, you get the outside post. If you go out, you don't have anybody to your outside. You go out there, you get the lead, and you do what you've done your entire career. Why not here? Why not now? So I've got the 14 on top. I think the 1, obviously, if you look at the inside here, you're getting the rail. I don't think it really matters here in this race. It's hard to make any true convictions with this much talent anyway. But Forever Young, obviously, we saw what happened in the Derby. We know what this horse is capable of, right? I mean, very much could have won the Derby. We could be talking a different tune here with this horse and seeing different odds. But they came back and won with ease, next race out. So again, it makes sense. This horse it was highly touted coming into the race. They closed, they did everything right. They just came up a little bit short. Taking consideration what you want from the rubbing and what happened with Sierra Leone down the stretch. This horse was right there at 1.25 miles at the distance, and first time over the track, did not matter. This horse is dominant. It was very much a terrific horse and a terrific ride, and I think you'll see that again on Saturday. And then I have the 9. Again, if you take a look at this horse, it's fierceness. Yes, they haven't won. I don't think they're going to win this race, but I think, we'll be competitive. They've proven me wrong a lot this year. I'm against them when they don't win or when they do win. And then I'm against them I'm with them when they don't win. So, again, I think a horse it's proven themselves has kind of won my good graces back. Obviously they did not get the job done in the Kentucky Derby, right? It's pretty much its worst race ever, but came back to back in dominant fashion, right? Just pulling the trigger when they need to. Johnny V, Todd Pletcher. So again, makes a ton of sense here as well. I could see fierceness being right there. If they get the best trip, so be it. They win it. Congratulations, Rapoli Stables. But like I said, I'm going to stick with the 14 here. I like the 1. I'll probably have a lot more combinations in second place here in this race, just being the biggest race of the day. But just off the cuff, quick kind of analysis, this is where I'm kind of leaning as my favorite horses in the bunch.
I like it. I think you're just getting a rematch of the horse from the Kentucky Derby. It's usually how you feel when you go into the Classic, is you're trying to get all these horses that were in the Derby, maybe they didn't win the Derby. You're trying to have a rematch on these. I think there's some other ones you don't want to really forget in this race. A couple that I mentioned earlier, besides the ones that are obvious. Next is the interesting one that's outside of that
Yeah.
group, that I think can actually be a contender. And being on the outside, I don't really think it hurts this horse on the 14. I think it's nice that it's going to have all the speed on the inside. And I think that's really what you want. If you're going to be a front runner or a stalker or somewhere up for the place, you probably want everything to your inside to know exactly how you got it. And it breaks very well every time. Next breaks very well. So interesting. Let's see if that pays off on Saturday as well. Let's go ahead and move over to the Filly and Mare Turf. Another interesting race. They're all interesting races, I guess, because they are all grade 1 races here. But I'm going to go with the 3 in this race. Cinderella's Dream. Probably scratching your head a little bit. It is 4-1. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of different ways. If I was going to play any kind of horizontal next to Torpedo Anna, this would be my lock guarantee. I just love everything about how this horse moves across the track and what it does. The distance suits it. I think it's run against some decent class. I think it's got some great speed figures, and it's exactly where I want it to be in the mix when we're talking about a turf race, is kind of like coming off the pace. And I don't think it's going to be too far back, still going to be within 5-6 lengths. And I think that's exactly where Buick's going to want it. It's going to have the inside position, so it's going to have to carve a little path coming through. It's in good hands for Charles Appleby. That's why William Buick's getting the mount here. So the 3 is actually going to be my topic outside of Torpedo Anna in any kind of horizontals that you may play. I like the 4, 8, and 10, and 12. The 4 would be Warlike Goddess, almost my top pick. It was very, very close. I don't know if anything's going to shift from turf conditions right now, but a few of the horses that we talked about that were on turf are very versatile, can run on soft and firm and good turfs. If there is any moisture, if there is any rain that comes in on Saturday, maybe Warlike Goddess does get the edge here and I have to shift back and put the 3 for second. That'd be the only factor, though, is if the turf condition does change. And then, like I said, I like the 8, Hang the Moon. I think the 10 is very interesting, too. Moira makes a lot of sense. Another one's going to be coming off pace, probably a little forwardly placed early, but moving late. And then Soprano, the 12. Horse is really kind of circling back. We just saw this horse race a couple of weeks ago to She Feels Pretty, and just missing in that race by 6 lengths. Had a good trip and then just got kind of like faltered off. Maybe it was just a prep race. Maybe it was the glorified workout for what they're going to do here in the Breeders' Cup. I don't really know, but it sets up well if it runs back to how it ran in the Matron or 2 back in France. We'll see. We'll see how it takes over to the turf. But at 20-1, I want to have Soprano on the ticket as well. So I got 3 on top of the 4, 8, 10, 12, and a slew of others in third for the try.
I like it. I ended up landing on Warlike Goddess as my top pick. Junior Alvarado, ever since he got the mount, right, we saw kind of what Rosario was doing, and I think it was a really big head scratcher, right, last year in the New York. It just was not the route, the race you wanted to see. And then next time out again, they were a little bit too close and just couldn't eat up the ground like they wanted to. They make the move to Junior Alvarado, and I think that's made all the difference. Yeah, they've had some tough races, right? They ran the Breeders' Cup turf last year. Obviously, did not get the job done. But it was a tough race. You're going against, Agate Road and some tough competition, and I think they just couldn't gobble up the ground that they wanted to. They did gobble up the ground, but just couldn't make a true move. I think Junior Alvarado has noted that, right? He's, instead of being 8 lengths back, like we saw, Rosario do, he needs to be like 4, 5 at the second call. He cannot be that far back and then make the move, right? So I think there's a tactic change and just an understanding on when this horse needs to move and go. They understand that. They know that it's Belmont teaming up with Junior Alvarado. It's their best combination. It's one that I will always play. And it doesn't matter if it's a good turf, yielding turf, firm. They run this horse and it takes to the turf well. It's just if they get the best jump or not is going to be the question. I think being a 5-2 here in this race, maybe a little bit short because I think there is some really stout competition in here. But so maybe that means the odds will go up a little bit, but has ridden over the surface before, obviously came in third, but just having that trip over, I think is nice, and obviously they can take to it like they think they're going to. It was a very difficult race for me to handicap. That's why I kind of went a little bit deeper here. I think the 2 underneath is also very interesting. If you look at the 2 as a whole, um, it's got some stuff that you want to see in a horse. It's IRAD
Mhm.
teaming up with Kevin Attard. Uh, it's just it's not the fanciest, but I mean, when you're coming off a race with a 110 speed figure in a grade one with
Yeah.
Kazushi Kimura, I think that speaks to what the horse is actually capable of, right? They went out
Mhm.
to the lead, and I mean, they were wheeling too. It's not like they had a little lead. They were leading by 11 lengths. So they were going out there and they were just giving it all and still hung
Yeah.
on and still won by 3.5.
That was against
So
Moira too.
yeah, and something you typically don't see right in these long races where a horse just goes out there and wheels.
Yeah.
They did, and it paid off in the last 3 trips. That's what they've been doing, going to the lead, setting the fractions, and kind of going out guns a blazing, win, lose or draw. So 110 speed figure holding on, I think that's impressive. 7-1 in that race, and coming
Yeah.
into a race like this with a lot of talent, like I said, I think there's a lot of true foes in here. I would not be surprised if I saw that horse, light up the tote board at a decent price. I've got the 5, Didia Jose. I don't think he's going to have a huge weekend, but Didia is a horse that he's ridden obviously consistently, has gotten the job done a couple times, and has been very competitive. When they lose, they don't lose by much. It's just a little bit of a, you know, smaller starter, a smaller, smaller beat here. So again,
Mhm.
I think Didia is very competitive over the Del Mar surface, lost by 2 lengths. Um, it's just a horse that I want underneath at a decent price. Again, 12-1. I think there's going to be some good prices on this race. And then the very last one that I have is the 10th, like you mentioned. Um, Moira is very much a tough beat as well. 106 speed figure in grade one. Uh, you can't leave it off your ticket. Same race. They just came up a little bit short, obviously. Um, but very, very impressive. And again, 8-1 is a great price here. So I'll have that one as well.
Yeah, Didia is one I have it in the third position. It could definitely be better and run better than where I have it in position wise. The 2, I mean, I'm just looking at the workouts that you were talking about. The 2, I didn't have the 2 on anything except for in the third position. And looking at the workouts recently, all these are at Woodbine, obviously. So I don't know when she actually shipped in to Del Mar, but 58 and 4, and then a 57 flat, 5 furlongs coming in
Yeah.
on October 24th. So horse got a lot of front end speed here.
Yep.
You could either set up well for a closer, or this 2 may just blow the doors off everybody early and try to hold on. We're gonna find out, but that's interesting. Maybe I have to upgrade that one just a tad moving forward here. Yeah, let's go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. This for me, I'm going with the 3. Maybe it's a shock. Maybe it's not a shock. I don't know. Federal Judge. I really like this one. This is one I really have a little more confidence in. Irad Ortiz. First time going to be riding for Brad Cox here. I like when these 2 team up because usually it's a no-brainer. And the speed from this one in the Phoenix last time out, wire-to-wire winner, 106 speed figure that was at Keeneland on October 4th. Workouts coming in are decent, 49, 50, 48 for the last time out. That was at Churchill Downs on October 26th. I'm maybe a little worried that you're going to see a regression from the 106. Obviously, I don't expect to see anything in that range come through this race. So yeah, I'll take a little back step on the speed figure. But I mean, it should have a pretty loose lead on the fractions that it's setting out there, and it did last time. If it gets to the front and gets real comfortable, this one could be over pretty early in my eyes. I do like the one underneath Raging Torrent. This is one I think is going to be probably pressing the issue a little bit with Freysu for Doug O'Neill. I think the 9 also is going to be one that I want to make sure I have on the ticket in the second position. Now, everyone's calling it remake. I call it Ramaki because that's how it's spelled, and it's from Japan, which is, bacon wrap water chestnut. So I think Ramaki, not remake, is the one that's actually going to be possibly getting the lead late and then maybe just doesn't relinquish it. This is more wide open than I probably made it out to be when I really like the 3. The 10 Mulligan, I don't want to leave that one off the ticket in any position, so maybe there's some keys with the 10 in the second or third position in the tries, but there's nothing this 10 hasn't done right at all It's just doing everything the right way right now in its 4-year-old campaign. I really like the Forgo, especially. It was an odds-on favorite, beating one in here, being Gun Pilot. And that was the second time off the LASIK, so that really had nothing to do with it. Brett may have a huge day with Rudolph Brissett. And then Skelly, again, this is another one. Both of these on the outside position. I don't know how much that's really going to play into it, but the outside positions usually don't well in these distances. On the short routes, but you really got to break out early. Both of these have the potential to do that. So Skelly could be an upset too. I don't know how much of an upset. 8-1 is a high price, I think, for a horse that has a little bit of second-itis lately, but has shown it can go ahead and wear the field. Add some higher fractions that others in this field have also ran. So kind of a crapshoot. Maybe it sets up for a closer. Hard to say, but all I can see is actually a lot of speed. So I'm going to go with where I think the best opportunity is from a speed figure, and that's going to be Federal Judge coming out of that Phoenix with a 106 speed figure. So 3 on top with the 1, 9, 10, 11. Throw the 4, the 5 underneath in the try for your third position, but could be a mix up here. It could be a lot of opportunities. This may be a toss up. Good box opportunity.
Yeah. In this race, I see so many horses in this field that want to go to the lead. I would say 75% of this field, if not maybe even a higher percentage, want to take the lead, and that's how
this
they
is
win.
like the other sprint we saw earlier
Yeah.
on Friday. Everybody wants to go to the front.
Everybody wants to go to the front. Everybody sets those fast fractions. I think if you get 2 or 3 horses that are going out there, they're going to burn out. That's the way I handicap this race. I could be crazy for doing so. I don't think the lone speed is going to be in this race. And that's why I kind of lean towards somebody that I can see that has closed before, that doesn't need to be on the lead, that can sit in stock. And that's why I landed on the 4, Nakatomi. Tyler Wesley Ward. This horse does not need to be on the front end to win, which is also pretty surprising for a Wesley Ward horse, because typically you see these horses going out there and winning on the front end. But again, like I said, from a stocking closing perspective, because I see so much speed in front of us, the 4 just made a lot of sense to me. 6-1 price, a very lukewarm horse in this race, but again, has ridden in the big races. Won obviously a grade 1 at Saratoga, and then obviously came in second in the Phoenix, but just kind of fell short to the speed, which was not pressed the entire way, right? With Federal Judge, which is
loose easy on the front end.
Yeah. So I mean, if that happens, and I think Federal Judge makes a ton of sense. I have it in the second spot. If they get out in there and they wheel and they just have the fractions their way any way they want it, it's game over, right? It's game, set, match there. But again, there's just so much speed that I think that if they all have the same tactic, or even if 2 or 3 horses have the same tactic, it's going to change this race up a little bit more. And that's why, like I said, I lean on the 4 as just sit stocking, be patient. Tyler knows that he doesn't need to go and bust out there for the best spot. He can be tactical here. And that's just how I handicapped it. I had the 3 underneath, like I said. Federal Judge is the fastest and consistent horse in this race that you're crazy if you leave it off the ticket. 8 Straight No Chaser I thought was also very interesting. Another horse that just has to go to the front though. Dan Blacker teaming up with Johnny V here. It's my race horse, so would be very cool for the connections to hit the board, maybe even win the race. But again, has to set some really fast fractions, can compete with Federal Judge in terms of speed figures and how quick they are out the gate. So again, I think that's how they win this race. So they have to go to the front. And if they don't, I don't know if that horse is going to be that much relevant in this race. And then the 10, Mulligan, like you said, again, another horse that has to go to the front that wins on the front end. They can stock a little bit, but you know that they're always trying to get as close to the lead as possible. Rudolph Brissett, I saw somebody said it called him, or it said his name is Rudolph Brisset, maybe the French version or
he's French now.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe he is French. I have no idea. I don't know him personally, but I just thought that was interesting. I heard that on Saturday. I kind of laughed. But Flavian Pratt, Rudolph Brissett or Brisset, however you want to pronounce it. Again, a horse that has to win on the front, can sit back a little bit, but I don't know if they'll be too far back to make up any ground. So I feel like their best opportunity is obviously to get out and go. So I'm taking the closer on top, with the speed underneath just dying out late. It's kind of the way I handicap that one.
It's probably a smart tactic because I think you're right. I think if everybody knows, if obviously everybody handicaps, jockeys handicap, and the trainers talking, they kind of see the same things. If everybody says, oh, the 3's going to go, I'm going to set off, and the 3 gets a good loose lead, it's probably over. But if everybody goes and presses, it probably sets up really well for where you're at. So I like the backing off of kind of opposite of what we're looking at from a handicapping perspective, from speed to close. So one of us is bound to do well. Let's move over to the next race, which is the Breeders' Cup Mile. This one, obviously, 1 mile on the turf. I'm taking the 9, and not going to talk me off this one. Johan, just the fact that we are sitting in a horse that is, I think, a little more tactical, doesn't like to go to the lead, does sit on a stalking trip, should be sitting off the pace. There is some good early pacing here as well. Don't know what the fractions are going to be or how blistering they'll be for this race, but there should be a good steady clip. It seems like there's a lot of people in this race that maybe want to sit off, and then there's a few that want to go to the front. So hopefully nobody gets loose on the front in this race, because that would totally throw me off and speed would be able to hold. So I'm just looking for a stalking trip. I just think that the horse has been running really well. It's going to be my top pick for this race. I like the 1, Ramatwell or Ramatui. I don't know how it's actually pronounced. This one's for Lemaire. I think it's Lemaire. That's how you pronounce his last name. Anyways, the horse has been running really good and figure-wise. The 2 back here, losing to third in the Coronation. That's the key race. I was going off beaten favorite. I think it's going to go ahead and bounce back. Obviously, won the next race out by 3, which was a grade 1. I think you're going to see a good outing from this horse as well. So I got the 1 on the ticket. I'm going to take the 7. Porta Fortuna out of Ireland. This is another Tom Marquand horse for Danaka O'Brien. So not your. I mean, how many O'Briens are training right now? Like 5?
At least 2.
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4. But this one made a lot of sense too. I just like the way that this horse is probably going to be driving out on its last couple of wins have been driving out and winning pretty convincingly. I think you're going to see the same kind of run. I really like Tom Marquand. He's really a good jockey. When I watch any of the overseas races, I kind of look to see where he's at. He gives you a fair run. So I just kind of like him as a jockey as well. And of course, that looks pretty strong. And usually your Europeans are the ones that really compete in this race. And then the 12, Carl Spackler. Probably not going to be the best outing here for Tyler Gaffleone and Chad Brown, sitting on the outside, 12 position. Should hit the board. We'll be moving somewhat early. It's going to be on that outside trip. It's going to be in the 4 or 5 path probably for most of the race. And we'll have to finish up. I don't think it bodes well for this horse in the win position, but should hit the board. And then I got a few others here for underneath in the try. So 9 on top with the 1, 7, 12, and everybody else for the try.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 12 with what you just
So as
mentioned.
I just talked shit about the post position, I will allow you to counter that.
No, I mean, I don't think you're wrong in thinking it might be a difficult trip for them, but again, kind of opposite of what we just handicapped in the last race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there is a ton of speed. I think there's really 2 true speed horses in this race. Carl Spackler being one, so shout out Turk. This horse goes up to the front. They just came off their best race at Keeneland for the year and almost in their career, right? They went out, they got the jump, and they set the fractions, and they went and they got it. 100 speed figure, Tyler Gaffleone. 6-1 morning line is great for this horse. I think it's a really legit talent coming out there. Again, I think if this horse gets the break on Goliad, and they go, I think that they have a really good opportunity. You have to go catch this horse, right? They're going to do what they're ready to prove again, is that this horse is a legit talent, coming off 3 straight, 2 of them being in a grade 1 fashion. So again, everything you want to see, they're improving here in this campaign for 2024. They're just getting better, and coming into this race, one of the biggest races of the year for this horse. Why not? Chad Brown's got a good opportunity here. Carl Spackler has done nothing wrong, in my opinion, in the last 3-4 starts. So I've got the 12. I think I have the 7 here. Porta Fortuna, like you just mentioned, right? I mean, the O'Briens have some strong horses here in this race, and this is one of them. Legit horse. Obviously, you know what you've got there. Impressive nonetheless, right? Even if you didn't watch a single race and you just look at this horse in the form, screams that this horse is legit. And when they lose, they don't lose by much. But every single time is very relevant in every race, right? So I think nothing's going to change here in this race for them. They're going to be very competitive. They're going to be right there. Regardless of what horse you put on top, if it's not this one, it's definitely a horse you need to keep on the ticket. They've just, again, answered the call every single time. And then I have the 9 as well. Again, Tim Yakteen, Umberto Rispoli. Yakteen has I would say, a very underrated barn, right? Obviously, him and Bob teamed up when everything that transpired from what that was. So he had a lot of legit horses in his barn, and then obviously gained some more traction from what he did from there. And I think he's actually strengthened there. And this is a true player. Johannes is really a very nice horse, nice colt. They've got some really good speed figures in the last 4 races. Del Mar, Santa Anita, this is their playground. This is where they race. 1 for 1 over the surface. It's not going to be an issue there. This
Yep.
horse is going to sit off. They're going to stalk. If they get close, they got a better position, right? Obviously, breaking from the 9 hole. If they get out and they just sit in that stalking position, I think they got a really good opportunity to be true players in here. I think a very under the radar 9-2 is. I was surprised.
Yeah. So was I.
9-2. I thought maybe it would be a little bit higher, and I thought I was going to get maybe even better odds. But 9-2, I think it could probably even be a little bit shorter here in this field. But yeah, Timmy Actine, Umberto Rispoli, they're going to make a charge. Rispoli's great on turf as well. If you watch California racing, he's streaky, but he's good, and yeah, a very talented horse nonetheless. So again, not very fancy here. 12 at the 7-9 might change a little bit on Saturday, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I'm winding.
Yeah, the 9 again. My top pick here. I'm thinking 5-2. Probably going to drop, float a little under that 9-2 morning line. I don't see it going off that high, and it is a distance specialist, 4 for 4 at the mile. So really like a horse that's comfortable with the distance and runs really well and is on a streak right now. Coming out of a good barn with a great jockey on turf. Time to wrap up this whole shenanigans here for the last race on Saturday, where we can all start crying and get ready to do it again next year. This is going to be
Cup mile, right?
Yeah, going to be your.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. They had that one in the middle of the pack. Never mind.
Yep, Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So we're back at the mile distance and we're on dirt. And funny enough, nothing's really changing on my post position selection here from the last race. I'm sticking with the 9 again, which is domestic product. We're going to end this one out here with a Pratt Chad Brown win, close it out. I think there's a lot of opportunities for this connection throughout the meet, but this is the 2 days. But this is the one I really like the best. Just really running consistent here. I like the Allen Jerkins and I like the Dwyer. I really am not even mad about the Pegasus running that race. I know it was the first time out for, was the first time at Monmouth. Didn't have the best outing. Wasn't a favorite. Kind of a lot of a head scratching after coming out the Kentucky Derby in 13th. Didn't know what it was going to do, but it ran a bang up race. Came in second at a mile in the 16th. Dropped out, cut back, got the odds on favorite here in the Dwyer. And then at 7 furlongs in the grade 1 Jerkins, not your favorite, but at a decent price. And now we're going right back to the mile again. And, you like to stay consistent. And when this horse runs it's 1 for 1 on the mile. So I'm not going to say that the longer distance or the shorter distance maybe bodes better and the longer distances aren't, but this horse has won it both above and below. But maybe the 1 mile is the key here. Workouts have been really good also, just really, really consistent. This horse is kind of everything you want out of a horse in the morning and what you're getting out of its works. So, 9's going to be my top pick. I do like the 6 and 7 underneath. I think these are good. Sees the gray. It makes a lot of sense here from a front end perspective. Don't know if it's going to be able to hold on, but we'll definitely be out there. I kind of want to pull for D. Wayne Lucas to go ahead and pull another one out here for him. He is one of the best trainers out there when it comes to Breeders' Cup Day and overall. Tumbarumba, we had this one on our card not too recently, was recently scratched so it can come into the Breeders' Cup. It's going to be a big price. It's 30-1 here, but it's the world of consistency as far as finishing, grade 3, grade 2 races. Predominantly grade 3 as of late. Travels well, 5 times in the money, second and third, 2 wins in 3 seconds on 5 times at the distance. So again, another distance specialist that I'm looking at here at an unbelievable price. Muth, hard to get away from this one. Not too great of an outing last time out in the California Crown. Prior to that, Muth was the talk of the town. Is going to be, again, 1 for 1 at the distance here. Bob Baffert, Juan Hernandez, makes a lot of sense getting back over to Del Mar. And then the 11, Cagliostro. Listen, not the best speed figures either, but, kind of wishy-washy. On again, off again, on again, off again. It's kind of moving back up after the forego. The Ack was a good opportunity improvement, although that wasn't an off track. Yet to be seen. That's why I kind of like it more in the second position. Maybe that drops down to the third position, but I had in the second one a handicap. So 9 with a 6, 7, 10, 11. Tumbarumba, though, could be a really, really good price at 30-1. Thought I had a good opportunity at Keeneland, and now I really think it's got a good opportunity at Del Mar with the decision-making of Brian Lynch.
Yeah. Tough race, good race to end on. I think there's some prices to be had here. I landed on Saudi Crown, the 1. Florent Giroux, Brad Cox. I think this is a really good opportunity for the connections here. The rail, it might scare most people, but the rail is winning pretty high at a decent clip here at Del Mar. It's not bad to be closer there. You get a shorter trip around the track. And this horse is going to go out and go, right? So they've got one person to beat to the inside, and if they can, that's going to be a win in my book to start off the race. If they run anywhere near what you saw this horse and the Saudi Cup,
Hmm.
yeah, they lost to Senior Buscador. Um, but that was just an insane close, right? I mean, they pretty much, I thought they had the race wrapped up. I thought that they had this race, there. And then
Yeah.
obviously, Ushba Tesoro, also was closing late there. But again, I thought Saudi Crown had it. When I was watching the race live, I was like, oh, they got a really good opportunity here. Obviously, just faltered late, got beat. I wouldn't even say faltered late; it just got beat by uh, two horses that were better that day.
Hmm.
But again, obviously they ran him back in Dubai, didn't get the result they wanted. Just really troubled trip, not much left in the horse. And then last time out at Ellis Park, get a freshening up, post that 101 speed figure, get this horse back in the form. I think you're going to see a step up from last time out right after the layoff. I think you
Yeah.
might see somewhere near one of those, 104, 105 speed figures if they run the race. I think they're capable of. It's that connection that you always have to watch out for and Brad Cox and Florent. So I'm going to take a swing with the one. And then I have the 8
Yep.
underneath. I think, again, I mean, the 8 is very interesting here. Post time, it's Sheldon Russell for his wife, Brittany Russell. A connection that has burned me so many times because, I think, oh, yeah, if they lose this race, he's going to be in the doghouse. Obviously, he doesn't care if he's in the doghouse because it hasn't panned out every single time I've bet him. But yeah, I mean, this horse, again, has ridden in the big races, rode in the Whitney, just missed, right? Lost by 2 lengths, but very competitive. And then last time out, they just won in dominant fashion, obviously ungraded stakes race. But again, a good freshening up there for them. Get them ready. They were the heavy favorites. It was just a glorified workout, right, with other horses. This horse is talented. I think flying under the radar. They took a little bit of a time off after that race as well, just to make sure that this horse is good, sound, ready to go. Interesting spot for them to put this 8 post time in. So I'll have it underneath. I think it's a good price at 12-1. And then the 9 domestic product. Very, very solid, strong horse in this field. Flavian Pratt, Chad Brown. If you don't know anything about domestic product, you just haven't been paying attention because this horse is very dominant. And do your research. Alan Jerkins was very, very a very tough race to win, and they closed and then were the best horse. So an impressive start, impressive
Yeah.
race for them to win. So that's where I
Yeah.
landed. One with the 8-9 in this race, but a lot of talent to go
Yeah.
underneath as well.
Domestic product, Claridge Stables coming in off a career high speed figure. That kind of worries me a little bit, but maybe it's just peaking at the right time in its 3-year-old campaign. It's just coming off its best. That's kind of what I'm going off. I don't know if it's going to improve off the 106. I doubt it, but
Right.
I think it can still beat these even at a lesser speed figure. Your post time, there's nothing really not to like about the 8 if you're really starting to break down some of the races that it's been in as well. Second to National Treasure, third to Arthur's Ride and Crouppy, beating debit card. Just looking at some of the horses that it's run on as of late, second to Messier. So it's running in some tougher classes. It's going to be in the same kind of mix here. And if it does what it normally does, it can hit the board. It can definitely be in the mix on the exotic. So not mad at that pick either from that perspective at 12-1. Yeah, that's kind of it. That's 14 races for Friday and Saturday. A lot of action, a lot of handicapping. Now, the big question is, I know they're talking about possibly, I don't know how, but they're talking about rain in Southern California. So if this actually happens on Saturday, if the turf changes, if it starts going from firm to good, if it goes from fast to good, or I doubt it'll get to muddy. But that does definitely change some perspectives on some of these picks here. So I think for the most part, we'll just stick with where we're at. If anything changes, we'll maybe post some things up on X. Go to your Twitter handle, take a follow. But I like that we're kind of contradictory on a few and aligned on a few others.
Agreed. It'll be interesting. Like you said, I mean, this is early handicapping. This is early homework, so obviously come race day, depending on how things change out, we might vary
Yeah.
off of our picks, but just to give you a leg up on your handicapping and what we see, obviously everybody is going to see something probably different or, maybe similar,
Yeah.
who knows, but yeah, again, like always too, if anybody sees anything or wants to, shoot us a DM or a text message, please do. I'd love some additional insight, or if anybody's got some hot tips
Yeah.
I'm always all ears for those.
Yeah.
So
We've been getting some good comments on the YouTube channel here. Appreciate everybody following and watching the new channel here. And if you're on the audio side of things, keep listening on that side. If you get an opportunity, go ahead and watch on the video side on YouTube. We post it on our handle on X every week, so you can go directly there, or you can just go to YouTube Direct and pull it up. If you do get an opportunity, go ahead and like and subscribe. That's going to be it for the 2024 Breeders' Cup handicapping for myself and the kid. Until kid, you got anything else before we end out?
no, no, let's just win some money on Friday, Saturday, and also real quick shout out to all of our trusty followers for promoting the videos and retweeting and all
Yeah.
the support from those guys. I mean, they know
Yep.
who they are, and much appreciated. But let's win some
Yeah.
money on Saturday and Friday, and see how it goes.
Let's cash some tickets. All right. Well said. Till next time. See ya.